Welcome to the Super Data Science series on web scraping, where we're going to be using Scrapy. Now, what is Scrapy? Scrapy is an open source and collaborative framework for extracting the data you need from websites. And you may be thinking, why do we need Scrapy? Or what is the purpose of web scraping? Now, in data science, our algorithms are usually only as strong as the data that we have at hand. So scraping is another tool for us to go out and extract data, to go out and crawl websites, to pull back new data, updated data. You can create spiders that run consistently or check every so often. So it's an essential tool in our toolkit as data scientists to go out and be able to extract that information. You can find some additional notes on Scrapy for your reference if you visit scrapy.org or the GitHub for Scrapy. And for the purpose of this series, we're going to be using Anaconda. So we're going to get Anaconda set up on our systems. We're going to create a contained environment within Anaconda to download Scrapy into. In this video, we're going to get our Scrapy's basic folder and structure installed where we can build our web spiders. Now, when we reference spider and spiders, sometimes it may sound confusing, but spider is the development environment that we're using through Anaconda, and spiders are what our algorithms are called because they're going to go out and crawl information on the web and return information to us. So just a quick note, if you hear them and run into any confusion. But that being said, let's move on and let's get Anaconda set up on our systems. We are going to navigate to the following page, the anaconda.com/download page, where you can see the download distribution for Anaconda for Windows, Mac, and Linux. We're going to be using Python 3.6, so I do recommend that you set up, if you have Anaconda already installed, you can set up, as we're going to do, another environment with 3.6 in it. If you're using, say, 2.7 or another 3 version, you're going to see more of some more changes if you're using 2.7, since you have the main syntax changes from 2 to Python 3. But as I said, I recommend using 3.6 so you can follow along without any additional complications. Also, one other quick note is that if you download for Windows or from Linux and you run commands in the future and you get a conda is not recognized command or something similar, please check the path information for Windows to make sure that Anaconda is set so it can recognize conda. And you might also have to edit your bash file on Linux. This is just a note if you do run into any errors in the future. Again, if it says something along the lines of conda not being recognized, it's always good to keep a heads up and to know a common debug solution for those type of errors. So once you do have that installed, we're going to go ahead and we're going to open up the Anaconda Navigator. You can open up Anaconda Navigator as so, and we're going to navigate. I'll go back to the home directory. So I already have my environment set up. We're going to click on environments. You're going to go down to the bottom where it says create. From here, click on create. You're going to name your environment. I called mine Scrapy environment. You can call it whatever you want, and you can choose the Python level that you want to use, the Python version that you want to use, and you're going to click create. So select that, click on create, and then when it's ready, navigate into your environment. Give that a second, and you can go to all or not installed and search for Scrapy. Click on it, select it, and then you can install it into your environment. And that will have Scrapy installed. So we're not going to be using the root. We're going to be using our own contained environment. It's something that I always recommend because it will help decrease the chance of conflicts, or, it's just a good idea, organizational purposes, that we can install specific things into this without worrying about causing any conflict in our other environments as well. So we have that installed and set up. One last thing that we want to do here, if this is a new installation for you, you're going to go back to home. You're going to go to your environment and you're going to install Spider. We're going to be using Spider for this to create our web spiders, basically to write our algorithms. We're going to run them from the terminal. So you will get more use of the terminal in this series as well, which is a huge advantage. If you're not comfortable with it, it's fine because we're just going to be doing some basic terminal operations. If you are comfortable with it, again, it's great. Just so maybe a little refresher for you. So get Spider installed. We're not going to launch it just at this moment yet, but coming up we will. And now what we're going to do is you're going to create a file, for having multiple windows open. You're going to create a file. I called mine test scrape. Create it where you want and then launch a terminal. Mine's created on the desktop just so I can work from it. Okay. You can see I was doing some experimenting. Now, the first thing I will launch a new one so we can see it from the beginning. Okay. What we want to do is first we need to activate our environment. For that, for both Mac and Linux, you can use the source activate command and then the name of your environment. So I called mine Scrapy environment. On Windows, you're going to just use the activate and the name of the environment command. You don't have to use the source. So Linux and Mac use source activate, Windows just use activate name of the environment. Now from here, we also want to go into our folder. So I am going to cd into the desktop, and then I'm going to cd into my folder called test scrape. You can also, as a little trick, cd and then drag and drop the folder. That'll also bring up the path to the folder. So it's just a quick note. Now from here, we're going to be running the basic Scrapy command that's going to give us our file structure. It's an awesome tool because it keeps it very organized for us. As you'll see, we're going to go through it in a second. We're going to run Scrapy, start project, and I'm going to call mine example. As you see, I had mine installed already, so it does return an error, but yours should install the file. So let's take a look. And as we navigate to it, you can see it brought up example, and you have the configuration file, and it brings up our initpy, our items, middlewares, pipeline settings, and our spiders. So our main folder where we're going to be working from is this. So we're going to create our spiders or our algorithms that are going to run in web scrape for us and grab data to return it. And I do have a spider created right now that I was experimenting with. We'll get into that in the next series, and we'll actually get into the folder structure a little more right now. So what we want to do is we're going to open Spider, the IDE, and I want you to use the File Explorer to navigate to the spiders. Now I have mine open. You may just have to go to desktop, go into the folder. You don't have to run any files or select any files right now. I just want you to be able to navigate to this so you will be able to locate it in the future. In your folders, you won't have these right now. Again, I had them created because we're going to be working on our next spider coming up. So just navigate to the basic folder structure, which you can get by going into your folder and then into what you called it. So mine was example, and I went to example, and you have the working directory. Now, for a couple quick takeaways and some other information to bring up, we can visit the scrapy.org website. You can see that you can also install it with pip, so you don't have to specifically use Anaconda. It's just my way of keeping things organized, but you can use pip. If you have any questions or you're looking for information regarding Scrapy, I highly encourage you to visit the scrapy.org page where you can see the documentation, resources, community, FAQ, and you can also find it on GitHub. Now, GitHub's also just an amazing place to take a look because you can dive into the files. You can dive further into the information to really get an idea of how Scrapy works behind the hood. So it's always a good idea to take a look there as well. And one last thing to mention is when you do crawl websites, when you do make your own spiders, I recommend that you visit the site's robot.txt extension. It'll be the extension off the web name of the website. Some sites are more restrictive on the information that they allow you to scrape, or for the occurrence or the frequency, maybe they don't let you scrape it so often or run, they have parameters that if a site has the robots.txt file, they have parameters for spiders, for web crawling. So I always recommend taking a look at the robots.txt file first. It's just a good idea, to know that if the site allows you to do web scraping. All right. For this video, that's going to wrap it up. We have successfully installed Anaconda. We have successfully set up our folder structure and our Scrapy. We ran our first Scrapy command in the terminal just to set up that folder structure. In the next video, we're going to be building our first spider. We're going to be sending out a basic spider to retrieve some information and returning it to 2 files. And from there, we're going to go on to create more complex spiders. But great job so far. If you have any questions, comments, or even if you see that you can implement it in a better way, feel free to share it. It's a great way for us to discuss and learn even further. So please feel free to share it. And as always, I highly recommend that you subscribe to the Super Data Science channel. It's just a fantastic way to stay up to date with weekly information on really what's going on in the industry. It's a really beneficial tool for you to use and to have at your disposal. With that being said, we're going to wrap this up. I will see you in the next video on our series of web scraping.